Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I'm here with something different for you. You might have heard, you might not have heard, but there's been a little controversy going on between SpikeyBits and some YouTubers and some other people, and it's been an issue. Even spilled out onto Reddit where SpikeyBits got kicked off of the 40K subreddit. I don't know. Regardless, this whole issue is revolving around the Army Painter speed paints. Now, before I get any further, I'm going to, say my own personal bias. I love Army Painter. I've been using it for years. The first real actual paints that I ever got were Army Painters. And hell, the most paints that I have over in my little painting corner are Army Painter. All right. So I got a bunch of their stuff, but I got a bunch of Vallejo. I've got some Citadel up there. I've got a little bit of everything, but I love Army Painter stuff. I've been using it for a long time, okay? But they had an issue with, or should I say, not have an issue with the reactivation, all right? So I decided to go ahead and run my own test, and I'll have that running in the background while I'm talking about some of this stuff. But before I touch on it specifically, they had put out this little hit piece on, I believe his name is Juan Hidalgo. Yep, Juan Hidalgo's out of context screenshots of our article with no link back to the actual content. And it just turned into this huge hate-filled thing. I got to give it to him. If he is specifically working with Vallejo, then he probably shouldn't critique the opponent's, the competition's product without disclosing that fact. I don't disagree. But here's the thing. The guy, admitted to what he does. And the thing of it is, he didn't say anything that wasn't known. It's not like people weren't already experiencing these issues. So just because you say something that's unkind, that's a critique, doesn't mean that you're trying to destroy the competition. Did it work out the best? No. But the way SpikeyBits handled this was really, really not good. They went all out. They went to war over it. Let's see, what does he say? Oh, I'm going to say that if the other reviewers were testing them based off of what it says on the label, they might not have come across the reactivation. That is a great idea. I will leave a test strip in the sun and see what happens. I will inform through the community tab a couple of weeks. As for other reviewers, I honestly don't understand how no one has said anything about this apart from Tallow Fainters. And he's talking about how the Juan Hidalgo sort of invented the reactivation issue, about how the supposedly speed paint is defective, and even went on to say that they stay in reactivation phase for days on end, which is untrue. See, this is what SpikeyBits is saying. SpikeyBits goes on to say, speed paint is meant to be put on in a single color and for you to move on, not to perform complex paint schemes and techniques. As you can see, even from these comments, people reviewing the paints at the time, including SpikeyBits, were using them as intended in just one coat, and when used correctly, they let you paint up miniatures in no time. Okay, no. You don't get to tell other people how to paint their minis. And yes, you should be able to paint over other paint. So I'm not going to get too much more into their drama because their drama's dumb. But I said the part about Army Painter up front to specifically say, I like Army Painter. Okay, very much. And I did my test knowing that I like Army Painter. And I'm going to let you guys see my results knowing that I like Army Painter. All right, so I'm kind of biased in their direction. I'm not wholly biased. I'm not going to lie for them. But I do like their products. I don't know them. I don't know them from Adam. I did contact them about this issue, and frankly, they did contact me back. I was actually kind of surprised. But here's what I had happen. Let my little video run. Took a couple of minis, primed them differently, right? Different types of miniature plastic, right? So I could get the variables out. And what I did is I painted them solid. A couple of different colors. I wanted one that was a little darker, like a red, and a lighter shade, like the lighter brown that I used, something that was more likely to stain, have maybe a higher pigment count versus something that was generally lighter, less likely to stain. Give me a spectrum here. Now, I probably should have used more, but I didn't want to waste too many of my paints. So besides, yeah, these things are expensive. While I did it, I painted them both solid all the way down, and I left them for days, right? I did not touch them. And what you're seeing is that I went back after days, many days, and just dipped a brush in water and re-wetted them. Now, to be fair, I am working the hell out of these minis in this video. I'm really digging into them with the brush, really getting them soaking wet. And then later on, I'm actually rubbing my fingers on them. So basically, I do everything I can to mess these paints up. All right. I'm trying my damnedest. And as you can see, there is very much a reactivation issue going on with the paints. It did not take me much. There was literally just the water hitting it pretty much sparked things up again. Now, what I noticed though, is that for the most part, the paints stuck. Okay. Many times I was trying to get into the recessed areas where it was shaded, right? Where the speed paints did their magic. And I was trying to basically wet that enough and hit it with the paintbrush, really digging into it, trying to get that out, trying to wear the paint off. And for the most part, I couldn't. I actually found it was the raised areas, like on the 88 droid, you can see some of the coils going around his legs where I was really able to rub the paint off. But that wasn't much, right? There was only a couple of areas that really seemed to lose the color. The rest of it stuck. It didn't cause too much of an issue. And that's with me just digging, right? I was doing my damnedest to really mess these up. So you have to work at it. But they shouldn't be coming up just from the water alone, which they were. So they are still fully usable. But if you're going to speed paint with them, you're going to have to clear coat them. You're going to have to varnish them, period. I think that's going to be the safer bet just overall. The moisture that just could naturally be on your hands, if something gets spilled on them, you don't want to deal with that. That's just possibly going to happen. And if you need to paint over it, because I don't know what he's talking about here, you do one coat with that and then use nothing else on top. No. Yes, I'm going to paint over the speed paints. And frankly, I've used them and not painted over them too much, so I haven't noticed the issue. I didn't notice the issue until I heard about it. And then I had to work at it to turn it into a problem. So the easiest way around is, like I said, if you're going to paint over them, you're going to have to hit them with a matte varnish, something to seal them in from any moisture touching it, because the moisture from another paint will cause that reactivation. And I did another test off camera, and I should have had it on camera. But basically what I had done is, in one of my little paint trays that had some leftover dry speed paint in it, I took another color of paint and was kind of swirling it around in there. And as I did that, just to see what would happen, the paint did lift and got some pigment into the other colored paint. Now, I know it's kind of hard to describe, but basically, yes, this will cause discoloration if you're having another paint on top of that. So you have to hit them with a varnish or have that be the top layer and you're done. Now, I did contact Army Painter because I've always said people make mistakes. They're always going to do it. It doesn't matter who it is, unless it's Juan Hidalgo, then SpikeyBits thinks they should never be allowed to make a mistake, although SpikeyBits made some mistakes because doubling down was not a good idea here. But it's always how you handle that mistake that makes the difference. Companies screw up. They're people. It's going to happen. Sometimes formula is not going to be great. They're reformulating it now. Cool. Perfect. What I would have liked to have seen is if you could provide a receipt, something, and everybody orders online now, you should be able to get a receipt proof of purchase, something, or even if you could send them a picture, maybe something they could verify, right? That you bought speed paints, that they would at least give you a coupon towards purchase of further speed paints to kind of make up for it, since they're having to reformulate the resin and everything, get this to where it's working better. They told me they're not going to be doing that they're not offering anything to the original, I would say backers, but purchasers of speed paint. And I think that's a bad call. I don't think a 10% off, 20% off coupon is going to cost them that much, and it'll earn them back a lot of goodwill that they might have lost from this, because it's pretty well known that the reactivation issue is a issue. They readily admit that it's an issue. They readily admit that they're working on the issue. So if they're working on the issue, hey, a little something for the people who supported you right off the bat when you made a mistake. I'm not saying you have to give people new boxes of speed paint. I would never suggest that. That's asinine. These paints still work. They're still fine. They still do the speed paint thing. So there's no reason to, replace everything. They're not defective in that sense. They are slightly out of whack, though, in that you need to take an extra step or two to ensure the consistency of the paint itself. You can't paint over top of them. You have to varnish it. And you pretty much have to coat it, period, just to ensure that you're never going to have, the oils of your hand or something else causing it to reactivate. I think 10%, 20% something coupon to people who purchased it. Hey, send us proof that you purchased it. We'll send you a coupon you can use for your next purchase of speed paints, right? If you buy our next box set. I think that would be a goodwill gesture to those who already backed it, because if they don't, next time they might go with Vallejo's Express paints, or I would say contrast paints, which I actually like Citadel's contrast paints, but they're ungodly expensive. I mean, for what you get, a little pot of paint is something close to $10 now, especially depending on where you get them. And it's just too damn much. You can get a bottle of speed paint for half or less than what you can for a bottle of the contrast paints. We'll have to see what Vallejo is going to charge for theirs. So I really think Army Painter needs to reach out with that little bit of goodwill. They're probably not going to do it because they're not going to listen to a small ass guy like me talking about it. But maybe they'll see the video and realize I'm wise beyond my years and take my suggestion. We'll just have to see. But yeah, if you got speed paints, take that extra step. It is an issue, but as you could see from my video, it's not an issue unless you're really digging at it. You have to try to make it an issue, and you can work around it. It just takes an extra step or two just to make sure you protect what you've already put down with the speed paint. All right, that's going to be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Y'all take care, and I will catch you in the next one.